Other companies are not hiring. Well, what's the option for me? I'm gonna be solo and see how it goes. And so that becomes like, oh shit, how do I do this?
Today, I'm joined by Simone Attansio, group design lead at Canva.
Some designs can speak for themselves, but a key part of it's around your design rationale. So how would you communicate that? How would you organize that?
Also, the founder of Therapy for Designers, a global community that brings professionals together to share challenges, inspiration, and growth.
It's a team sport. You need a very good team to learn from. The only way to go and have a bigger team is going corporate.
If you're going down that path of being a really good designer, corporate would be the first thing, but like the longer the project, the better the experience. He's spearheaded design initiatives across the continents, offering fresh insights into how to create authentic and supportive design networks. How do you help them connect what their design or their presentation impact will be to the business in a way that stakeholders want to hear it, as opposed to pure design talk?
I think sometimes it's about...
My name is Joe Wood and welcome to All Things Design, the podcast that unpacks how design drives digital transformation. Today, we're speaking with Simone Attansio, group design lead at Canva. For anyone that doesn't know who you are, can you give us a bit of a quick backstory on who Simone is?
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Simone. I used to say 30 years old, not anymore. I'm a design leader at Canva to start with, and also I'm the founder of a community called Therapy for Designers, which is basically like, just for a summary, it's a space where I created to enable designers to share the challenges and get peer support. And we match that with food as well. There's a part of sharing challenges in a group, and then we bring the vulnerability from up here to the table and actually share meals. And so the key things I found very interesting for me when I share the concept and share the idea, people say, we really need this here. A lot of designers are struggling. This person here and this one there. And then there was there was a lot of like one-to-one like recognitions, like this is happening. But then I see online as well, a lot of people like seeking for that. And on top of that, culturally, in Australia was the concept of therapy, and I'm Italian, right? So there's very different bias towards what is therapy, what's not. And here in Australia, it's quite well accepted. Like you can come and get support.
Yep.
And I was a bit like doubting that would be the same in Europe. And then we went to Berlin. It's like, yeah, this community really needs that. Apparently, that there's no avenue for designers to share. Although they did mention that actually word therapy could be confused at times. There's some legal restriction. It's so interesting when you open a new chapter outside your country, you learn so many different things. To join the community, we've got a form with 3-4 questions, which are: what are your current challenges? What are your goals? What would you like to learn? The reason I put that form, because again, it's not ticking the box coming. It's about you coming and participate.
Yep.
If you don't respond to those questions, you're not joining the community. And usually I send an email to every single person asking why you didn't answer those questions. And 90% of the time, people don't respond. That means they didn't actually want to join the community; they just want to tick the box.
Yep.
So the screening system works pretty well. And I do see a lot of like different, like similar challenges actually across. Most recently around in Berlin, and one thing I saw was new market and a lot of people moving from like be made redundant a lot and wanted to become a freelancer. And I would say 50% of the people who joined the session were freelancer or just became freelancer.
Wow.
Because they don't see any other job in other companies. So there's the be made redundant, so struggle. That means other companies are not hiring. Well, what's the option for me? I'm going to be solo and see how it goes. And so that becomes like, oh shit, how do I do this?
Yeah.
Right? Where do I start? And all the challenges that come with that.
That's cool. And then you've got a trending topic, right? You could put all people in the same
Correct.
room. And like, do you have someone that kind of leads it? So like a principal designer that's maybe like if you're having a themed challenge where you were teaching people how to become a freelancer and invoice and go and pitch for work, like would you have someone come in to sort of lead that session and go, hey, this is where you need to start? Or is
That could be an idea. Yeah. We have facilitators, myself and Ash in Melbourne. We're going to, again, 2-3 facilitators in Sydney, a couple in Berlin. Those are more experienced designers that can like manage the group and different conversations, because at time could be also a heavy topic, because people feel very comfortable to share. It's a smaller group, smaller, like it's small room, comfortable. We do some very like nice mindfulness exercise, so everyone feels like, okay, this is my place. Um, but yeah, well, I don't know, when we're gonna have a specific theme, maybe we'll need someone to more like expert in that thing to come and share more practical. Again, it's gonna be a mix, because the ultimate goal is people to share rather
Yeah.
than be told, right? We might come with advice and feedback or ideas, but never being like, hey, today I'm gonna teach you this because yada yada yada.
Yeah.
This is your space. This is your, you to share.
Okay. So let's talk about you obviously been in Copenhagen and Berlin. Let's talk about the Australian market, because I think there's obviously a bit of difference between maybe the communication piece. What are some of the biggest challenges that you see for the design community in Australia at the moment? Maybe it's a topical question to ask, but what are some of the things that, well, maybe a commonality with the people that are coming through therapy for designers, or you see when you go to a conference or you present, that maybe needs to be a focus for the design community to change, so people feel a little bit more included when they go to a conference or just turning up as a designer?
Mm. I think there is a new batch, I call it batch, is a bad word, I don't know, of designers that need help to elevate themselves, like to learn more about practice design, how to go beyond just the nitty gritty craft. Because design is not just the hey Figma file and do a prototype, and it's more than that. There's a communication element, leadership, the strategy, right? And so the majority of people that come and designers as well, I heard like they don't discuss my craft skills are not great. How can I learn? It's around who I am, what do I need to do to grow. The manager did this, the other company is not doing well. What do I do? Stakeholder management. There's a lot of other complex things around designers.
Yep.
Um, and I think that's one part. I think there's a lot of designers need help, but they don't know where to get the help from in terms of growing themselves. Um, the other thing I've seen recently, there's a lot of shift people jumping from job to job, but not knowing if they're doing well. That means like there's an opportunity in the market that's not big enough for them to grow. So they, as connected to the previous topic, they can probably jump from one job short a few months to now something else, and they don't have a team to help them. They don't know who they are as essential in the world as a designer, and so not being connected to a team doesn't help them to learn from the team or senior designers.
Yep.
And so, and the reason be probably because the job market is slightly different these days, and so companies are they're not keen to get longer term contract, but like shorter. And I've seen a few times. Again, this is because being asked like or shared they in some consultancies or agencies, and um, usually they work like relatively small in terms of time frame.
Yep.
And a lot, actually, one key thing I've seen a lot is like, where do you work? I was like, this company, great. What do you do? I'm the solo designer. I'm the solo designer. I'm the solo designer. I'm the solo designer. It's the solo designer is like it's like a trend. It's like, oh my god, everyone is a solo designer. And maybe it's good for the like that means Australia is creating so many more startups and companies, but at the same time, that designer alone is like cool. That's great, but now I need to do a lot of things. People say I'm a UX UI designer, but also do graphic designs, also do copywriting, also do
Yeah.
this. And maybe just the phase of startup, but it's really hard to be like, in my opinion. And I did many startups. I was part of startups, and I was doing a lot of things, right? But was a level of my career that I spent enough years to understand. Yes, I need to do this stuff. It's part of my remit. It's important because they help company achieving certain things, the team, and so forth, right? If you just join a company, this is the first job, second job, that you do this constantly. It's like, what are they to do? Oh my God, they asked me to do certain things, but never done that before. It's outside my remit. And I came here because I graduated as a UX designer, but I don't know anything else about anything else, pretty much. And so and you don't have a team behind you, someone to help you, and then you have a PM, and then the founder tells you how to do certain things. But yeah, this is some of the trends I've seen here and there, I
I
guess.
well, I'm a recruiter by trade, right? So this
Oh,
is
there you
something
go.
that I've always seen. Look, we tend not to. Our team are all senior consultants for the most part, but we wouldn't necessarily lean towards someone that has been a sole designer. And I think there's so many reasons. If I was ever to give career advice to a designer in their early stage of their career, like the bigger the company, the better normally. Maybe they don't have the most mature design practice, but at least you're surrounded by other designers. So if you're a junior, you need other mid levels or seniors or principals to take you on that journey and tell you what you're doing right or what you're doing wrong or
Yes.
where you can improve and giving you that feedback loop. If you're the sole designer and you've got a founder who knows nothing about design and is leaning on you to do certain things and giving you multiple tasks, you're not really evolving the way that you should. You might evolve, but might be not the evolution that you need if you're going down that path of being a really good designer. So corporate would be the first thing, but like yeah, jumping from project to project is another thing. When we hire even our consultants or our projects, right? Like minimum would be 6 months. Anyone below 6 months, like it's too quick, and it's hard to make any impact there. So like become a good designer, like the longer the project, the better the experience. So like you'd really want, especially if you were jumping, like if you're a consultant, yeah, maybe you do a 6 month stint, but maybe then you do an 18-month stint. Or and I would say that with anyone's career advice as well. If you're doing too many short stints, you become untouchable, not for the right reasons. You're untouchable because people are scared that if they hire you, you are a flight risk. So there's a lot of things that you could unpack there that create challenges for their career trajectory.
I think I have an analogy in this case is around, I think, design of software development, and it's often, unless you decide to be the freelancer and that's your main job, I think it's a team sport. So you win as a team, also you learn as a team, right? You might have some exception, the Lionel Messi or Ronaldo. Even if you put in a horrible team, they will do amazing, right? But because they're just exception. But the majority of the case, you need a very good team to learn from, because even if you're medium, you're still learning. Like you're not that great. If you play with a team that all like superstars and great, you're gonna learn and become a superstar as well. And so often I see like my question asked the designers is like, call your solo, right? How much you're learning? What do you think? It's like, but it's so comfortable, it's so great. It feels like a family. Cool. When do you think you're gonna reach a threshold that you feel like this is not enough for me and go to the next level? Right? I know getting a company to work with, a bigger team. But what I noticed is this kind of stigma, like, the only way to go and have a bigger team is going corporate, and a corporate comes with a, I don't know, Comic Sans um, font, right? So, designers don't want to see that, and it's all like gray, horrible colors. And so there's a stigma like, oh, corporate, it's now it's boring. It's like, I don't think it is. This is something we should probably remove from, like, corporate doesn't mean like bad for you. Corporate doesn't mean like suit and tie, especially these days. The probably in the 80s, 90s, great, that would be there. But no, like I met a guy from McKinsey, right?
Yeah.
Which probably you perceive like, oh, that's corporate, right? McKinsey. Oh my god, like the way he described his job is like innovative, creative. So they do so many great things, right? And I think there's a perception still out there, especially for younger designers, that corporate is like boring, and I don't want to join that company because it's gonna be this, and this. Of course, I can't generalize. Maybe there are some areas that harder. Some companies, still operate always. I don't know, but there is a bit of stigma. It's like, if corporate will not fit my needs, and I won't grow because.
You could be a sole designer working on a product that only 100 people use, or you could work in a corporate on a product that reaches millions of people on a daily basis. Like challenges are slightly different. And you can go into a place that's not overly design mature, so it's not that exciting. But most corporates that we work with are doing some pretty exciting thing. They're pushing the
Yeah.
boundaries and they're working on some fun stuff. So it's like you're going to get exposure to a lot more. And a lot more like from a challenge perspective as well. Small companies have challenges, but not at the scale that an enterprise would.
And I think what adds up to like your growth as a designer doesn't mean like your project probably is not, it's not the best project in the world, but you get to work with so many different functions. Perhaps when it's a big team,
Yeah.
you just naturally learn how. You don't learn that you're probably not going to play on Figma together, but you're going to learn how to communicate. You're going to learn a new strategy that person presented, and then you're listening and you're absorbing it. You're going to read some documents someone has put together, and you're like, oh my god, you're learning from that too. So there's sometimes it's not what you see in front of you every day, it's what's around you that can help you grow.
Go back to that education piece, communication. I speak to design leaders like well, it's pretty much my job, right? It's just speaking to people like yourself. And that communication element from a designer going from mid level to a senior level and understanding how design actually impacts the business metrics and drives the business dollar growth. Like, most people don't understand that. And they're not being able to communicate properly to stakeholders how stakeholders need them to sort of portray a message. They're still presenting it in a design fashion. So that's another huge, I think, gap that needs to sort of maybe be crossed somehow. And I think this obviously starts with design leaders being able to educate their team properly. But where do design leaders go to get that education
Well, I
stuff?
think there's a well, designers. Some designs can speak for himself. I think it's if you've done an incredible prototype, or you can understand people can understand what your idea. But the key part of it's around your design rationale, and I think it's who's responsible for that rationale. It's yourself. So how would you communicate that? How would you organize that? Often for me, what I say to my calling Canva coaches is around, cool, you got this idea, you got your designs, tell me more. Why this is important? Is it connected to a bigger impact? Are you driving certain, does it came from like a research insight because the user says so? Um, did you collaborate with other people? What is your design strategy? Is this is a vision that works as an MVP? And then it's sometimes the struggle is like from doing the design to articulate the thinking. Sometimes I would say that most of the time the thinking designers is there, but it's moving from from in the brain to actually articulate in a written form, or in I call it story deck. We do a lot of Canva, like articulating yourself into a deck, really helps create that communication skill for designers. And I think it's critical because who's going to present your idea? It's you standing there sharing. And I think it's such a critical part of a designer growth. Um, Saying that you can still be absolutely like a champion in the craft, but maybe that idea, that craft will remain in the box without being able to communicate the idea. Um, and I think communication can also be like not necessarily verbal communication, can be like a visual communication. You should be able to actually visualize your story. Visualize story means like a visual storyteller, right? So it was like in a late 2008 9 infographics was very cool. Everyone was trending hashtag infographic everywhere. Now how do you use that visual even to tell the story, right? There's so many ways you can learn, or ways to actually create a story just using like visual cues or visual elements. And so again, the advice is here not just focus on the verbal or written form, which is very important, but how can you honor your craft, use your craft to actually.
Do you have like when you're taking your coachees through this process, do you have like a deck that you give them as a kind of a format to learn from, or is it each pitch is going to be different and you kind of just got to create it for the current situation?
I think, I mean, Canva, we're lucky enough, we've got a lot of templates pre-made. We've got a great design operation ops team. They create a lot of templates and help us to kind of get started for sure. So you might have a vision deck, that's the way we do it, or goal deck. But I think design is never linear. Stories linear, If you look at my Figma files or other things, it's very messy. And I think it's the way design is. It goes in multiple directions. And so if I apply that to a story or things you want to say, there might be a certain situation that you can't use that template because you need to describe something different. There were different stakeholders involved.
Yeah.
Something you did differently this time. So you might have an initial skeleton that you share with your team. I would say 70% of the time, there's always, probably even more, different aspect that you need to highlight or work on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think adds up to that part of growth because say, hey, it wasn't this time is different compared to last time. So how would you do that? How should we do that? And I do love doing that, like working, coaching, literally be with them together and create these stories.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a way to tell them it's not just the Figma file. It's like how do you represent your ideas into a story, and that sometimes you can't say go and do it. It's like can we do it together?
And how do you help them, I guess, connect what their design or their presentation impact will be to the business? Like how are you getting them to communicate that back to the stakeholders? So not just from this is the findings that we had, like how are you getting to them to sort of present that back in a way that stakeholders want to hear it as opposed to pure design talk?
I think sometimes it's about the designers understanding why they're doing certain things.
Yeah.
And so it's like, do you understand by doing this exercise or this project solution, how much, what is the key goal we try to achieve here? How much, the needle will change? And then it's constantly challenging that. Like, hey, what about this? Is that the most important thing you can do? Does it help achieve certain things? And that can become, I think, strategy-wise, could be like me, like asking many times, but also bringing them along. Like along means like along the journey when we start doing some planning, along the journey when we start shaping goals, and for them to empower them to actually define some of the goals. So naturally they come then, if they've been in a planning session, they've been helping shaping the goals. We hope that in some degrees, when they design something, they know that everything's connected. Recently, one of my designers, she put together this basically like a milestone kind of tracking all the things she's working across and attach it to what, like each milestone attach to what a goal, a data reference. And it's so key because then once you know that, guess what? When you communicate your ideas, design rationale is there. I've been doing this, crafting this to solve something that will help something else.
Yep.
It's a classic like a cause and effect, right? By doing this, achieve this, and so forth, so forth, so forth. And it's so crucial because then you naturally develop that business mindset,
Yep.
which I think designers should have a bit more. And the story, sometimes I feel like, oh my God, this is beautiful because you design something incredible that's connected to an actual need that will drive an actual goal, like fact. And when you go and present something like this to a business stakeholder, they will like drop the mic. Amazing. Right.
That's what
And it's no, but this is all the components. That's exactly that.
Yeah.
And because so many times in the past I've seen designers say like, this is a solution, cool. What are you trying to achieve? I don't know, it looks good. And I heard that the users have this problem, but like, can you tell me more? Right.
Yep.
And this is also one of the key questions, asking in interviews. What does it help achieve this initiative, your solution, this idea? And I think they're so connected. I think it's, again, go back to that communication part.
Can you give me a percentage of that question in interviews and percentage of people that can actually connect what they're doing to a business outcome well?
Well, the one that responded well, so they understand and don't panic, I would say those are good designers, and either they've done a lot of interviews and they prepare after all, or they just naturally like understand, have that mindset quite developed. I would say probably 60, no, I know 70%. Not, they don't know about that. Probably depends the level.
Yeah.
Also, your expectation when you hire, like, hey, I would say, yeah, probably 70%. They were like, I don't know, I need to follow up, and and the 30% are very strong about that.
So 101 tip, if you're trying to interview for Canva, you should know that question.
Then this is the tip that I say to myself: just be yourself.
Yeah.
And then maybe it goes back to the ego part we talked before, and try to, the community, and need to, like, I think, try to be yourself. Don't try to be like others. Try to be yourself, because if you're going to hire, we're going to hire you, not others. So you as person designers, you're unique for the things, things you can bring to Canva, I guess. um, and don't try to, one of the, I think, key struggle I've seen through listening to the communities around, I need this portfolio because otherwise I can't interview. It's like, no, just focus on one, two key things that you worked on and you want to showcase, because it's the one or two key things that are going to get you through it, not the portfolio of 20,000 case studies,
Yeah.
right? And it's, what is the thing you want to communicate? What is one thing that yourself, what are your values? And so if you focus on yourself doing a good job, don't focus how others will perceive you or what they want to think, they're going to think, you're going to do amazing.
Okay.
This is a reminder, like, becoming more like a public speaker in the last couple of years, since you can't go on stage thinking, oh my God, everyone is going to think this and this and that. And it's like, I'm just going to be myself.
Yeah.
And everyone else can think whatever they want. That's it. I know, simple to say that's it. Of course, there's all the process, brain, thinking, yada, yada, but yeah.
Scary. Like, I'm not a public speaker. It scares the
I think you'd be great. I've seen you around. Like, yeah, I think you could
like,
do it.
I'll get into it just because it scares me so much. I'm like, I'll give it a shot. Just because I don't want to let the fear get the better of me. But I could speak to you all day. I want to wrap it up. Like, we're talking about going to conferences and the design community needing to connect better, and maybe people need the goal of maybe just connecting as opposed to doing anything else. What's like sort of one final takeaway tip? If I was a designer going to a conference, it's pretty daunting a lot of the time if you don't like networking. What's one thing that you would focus on going into that conference?
But the idea could be, I would just share them coming to this conference. Who can go and, like, try to be proactive. You can share on LinkedIn, say, hey, I'm going to this conference. I know no one. I only have two people who want to hang out. Right. It's just sometimes you can apply your problem solving mindset to yourself. It's like, oh, how would I solve this? I struggle to meet people at conferences. Well, what would I do? Put a goal. I want to meet at least 5 people at this conference. Great. How would you do that? Brainstorm. You can share something on LinkedIn. Message people. Message the organizer. There's so many options. Okay, cool. First one, message organizer. What's the vision of that? Well, perfect email, or my intro. That is an MVP. Hi, how are you, on LinkedIn? That's it. Like,
Yeah.
that's probably it. Of course, it takes time and courage to be proactive. Not everyone is crazy Italian, yabba 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 like me. But there are different ways. And again, you can go the 101 and talk to someone directly, and be like, again, be yourself in this sense. Yeah.
I think it's a great tip. Like, the first conferences or even meetups that I used to go to as a recruiter, going to development meetups was the scariest thing in the world because developers didn't like recruiters. But I used to just, like, the goal would be to speak to one person. And if I spoke to one person, that was like a win. And then I could sit down and, like, become an introvert. And then over time, it'd be like get more and more comfortable. And it might be 5 people, or maybe I'd stay and just talk to everyone the whole time. So it's like, just kind of built into it. But like, when I started networking, I was so scared and I really didn't like it. Now, just normal. Love it.
It can be also the goal. It's just like, hey, sorry, I'm just, one of my goals to speak to one person. Should we do it? Let's talk. And you can maybe, and if you want to be creative, you can build your own cards to introduce yourself. Imagine the old days. So, like, you got like the business card. Create an app for yourself. I don't know. You can have many of these, I guess.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll take that one. I think business cards are gone. Waste of, just use a QR code on your WhatsApp.
But what if you're the only one have business cards? Everyone's going to talk about you.
True. I'll be questioning why you've still got business
Oh,
cards.
why you have business cards? So, will you remember me?
Yeah, true. Look, just a picture of my face on a business card. Here you go. Here's me. It was so much fun speaking to you again today. Obviously, you've got Therapy for Designers. It sounds like it's going amazing. If people want to connect and find out more about Therapy for Designers, what's the best way? Connect on LinkedIn, go directly.
Yeah, there's both. We've got a LinkedIn group or a website, therapyfordesigners.com. Yeah, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. That could be the three best way.
Sweet. And it's just for anyone that wants to connect with designers and talk about issues they may have in the workplace.
Yeah, I think if you're designers and you feel like you wanna share more of what's happening in your world, there are some challenges, and you're seeking for a community, like-minded people, yeah, you can join us.
Amazing, Simone. It was an absolute pleasure. I'll drop some links to Therapy for Designers and your LinkedIn profile so people can harass you directly in the podcast notes. But once again, absolute pleasure.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Joe. Have a good one.